Did that timer stop at 3 for everybody else? Or was that just me? Hi, you guys, it's Friday, which means we have a new HOH and live feed updates to talk about. But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It helps the channel and I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Now, I said we have a new HOH, and I'm going to tell you our noms because we already have noms. But then you're going to say to me, wait, is that a new HOH? And then I'm going to say, no, it's still Kyland's HOH again. So here we are. Last night, I was like, Sarah Beth doesn't listen to Kyland. She's yet to listen to him. This is going to be fun. Well, it's not going to be as fun as I thought it was going to be. So here we go. Let's dive in. Sarah Beth is our HOH. She won last night. And the noms already happened. Derek Frazier is on the block again, sitting next to Claire again. Exactly Kyland's noms from last week. Oof, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing, Sarah Beth. I'm having, is it called residual embarrassment from over here? I'm having long distance embarrassment from this HOH already. Okay, Derek Frazier and Claire are back on the block. Let's break this down, though, because last night, Sarah Beth, she said, I want this to be my HOH. This is not Kyland's HOH. I'm doing what I want to do. And he very quickly got, into her ear and pushed Derek X and Claire. And she's like, no. And then she has her one-on-ones. And it was very clear from her one-on-ones that she was definitely putting Big D up. Derek Frazier, she's not into it. No need to keep them. Definitely going up. Thank you, Evelyn. I believe it is secondhand embarrassment. That sounds right. She was very clearly putting Big D up always. That didn't seem to waver. But surprisingly to me, she was still, it shouldn't have been surprising. She was still mad at Xavier and Alyssa for the whole Christian backdoor week when she was on the block. And she found out that they thought Big D was going to be the replacement nom. They didn't know about the Christian backdoor. So they were already pushing before that even happened, which was never going to happen. But they were already pushing to flip the vote to get rid of Sarah Beth and keep Big D. That was Alyssa and Xavier and Christian at that time. So Sarah Beth found that out and she is still upset about it. Understandably so. Also, after Christian left, to be fair, Xavier and Alyssa, they coupled off and didn't do any repair work with Sarah Beth. So it makes sense. So she was very questioning of the both of them, not so sure about them. So it seemed like it was going to be Big D and either Xavier or Big D and Alyssa, leaning towards Alyssa the more she took one-on-ones and talked to people. Even to the point that Alyssa came in thinking, hey, we're going to chat. And Alyssa was like, did you see Tiffany's face when you were winning HOH and Derek X fell? It was so close. She was like, oh, Tiffany made a face And Sarah Beth took that as Alyssa is lying to me and trying to make Tiffany look bad. And Tiffany, now meanwhile, Tiffany's terrified because, right, she's been talking about getting Sarah Beth out for weeks, right? And she walks in all nervous for her one-on-one with Sarah Beth. And Sarah Beth's like, jackpot all the way. Yay. You, me, Claire, we're safe. What? And Tiffany's like, wait, what? Then Claire walks in and Sarah Beth's demeanor completely changed. Sarah Beth like ran her one-on-ones very efficiently. Thank you for that. But she was like not giving a ton of information. She was asking some specific questions, but Claire walks in and she's like, oh my God. So this is what I'm thinking. I want the roulette used. I don't have enough money to have to worry about it next week. So let's get it flushed this week. I'm suspicious about Alyssa. Alyssa said this about Tiffany. Like she just divulged. And I was like, whoa, like she really does feel close with Claire. Even though she has not been fostering this relationship at all, she has not been putting in the work. She's sitting there and saying, I do want to work with jackpots. Like, this is great. And I was like, okay, you should have done some work with it earlier, but here we are. Great. So that's to set the stage. That was last night. Those were her one-on-ones. That's where her head is. She gets her HOH room, you guys. There's a photo of Shelly. What? The letter is from Shelly. Everyone's like, oh, is this Shelly? In the letter, Shelly says, it's not fair that those house guests get to hug and cuddle with you and not me. There were a couple faces when she read that out loud. Then Sarah Beth tries to laugh it off and she's like, haha, she's coming for y'all. And I was like, I don't think she's coming for anyone except one person. That was directed specifically to one person, Sarah Beth. Okay, so awkward. More faces. Everyone's out. Great. One-on-one's done. Everyone can go to sleep. Sarah Beth's like, she likes to sleep. She doesn't like to stay up late. Great. Let's all go to bed. No. 2 a.m., you guys. Kyland shows up. It takes him 4 hours. 4 hours of talking in spirals. And then Sarah Beth says, what if I put up Claire next to Big D? Kyland's like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that sounds great. Love it. Cosign. Great idea. 4 hours it took him to deprogram Sarah Beth and all that she was thinking. He mostly was stressing to her that Claire and Derek X spearheaded a campaign to keep Brittany last week, which goes against Kyland's wishes as HOH. And Brittany's campaign herself was saying, I will go after Kyland and Sarah Beth. So therefore, if Derek and Claire were trying to keep Brittany, then they're not really working with Sarah Beth and are lying to her, because obviously they haven't brought any of that up and other people have. She comes to the point of saying, okay, how about Big D with Claire? Kyland's happy with this. They finally hug goodbye. They say their I love yous to each other. And then Sarah Beth does this. It wasn't really cam talking. It was almost like she was just rehearsing what she was going to say to Claire and Big D to give them a heads up that they were going to go on the block. And she's kind of saying, like, I want the roulette used. You're not my target. You're going to go. She's saying this to both of them. You're going to go up. You can play. Someone else can play for you, bring you down. Then you're safe. You know, these are her excuses. But in there, because I'm like, listening, in there, she says, and I hopefully can use this twist to save the 2 jackpot ladies that I want to work with. And I was like, okay, all right, okay, wait. So Kyland did convince her to put up Claire, but it doesn't sound like she has been convinced to not trust Claire. I think. Oh boy. I don't know. Kyland's in her head though. So I do not know. She does give both of them a heads up. They did know that they were going up by the time noms happened. And then we proceed to have all of this talk about the roulette. This is messy. This whole roulette thing is messy. Oh my God. That kiss last night, Alana, I loved it. I felt it. I loved it. I needed it in my life. It was hilarious. But it's a good point because part of Kyland's manipulation tactics involves touch. When he's trying to convince you of something, he's hugging you, he's massaging you, he's giving you some sort of physical touch. He did that to Derek a lot last week, Big D. Got Big D to, volunteer to be a pawn. He does a lot of, hugging on Big D to get Big D to just like fall and do whatever he wants. And then last night when he was first trying with Sarah Beth, he was like giving her a foot massage. He was like, Claire, Derek X. That got interrupted. Just before we went down for high roller room, I tweeted out a couple photos because he was like circling back with Sarah Beth and he's like, but what I think, he's like doing this. And then at one point he had to like totally embrace her. And he's like, so I think we'll do what I would say. I was like, woo, his inception, it goes like through his fingers. Like the words coming out of his mouth make no sense. There's no logic, but like whatever this is, this makes you go, yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. I'll put up one of my closest allies. Great. We all have our tactics. I don't know. Yes, Joseph, the feeds went down around 1 p.m. BB time Pacific for the high roller room. Last week, they were down for like 5 or 6 hours. So I imagine similarly this week that will happen. Okay, the roulette. So Sarah Beth told everyone that she wants the roulette to be in play. She doesn't want it to possibly be in play next week. So she was really overthinking her noms, to be fair, because she knows this roulette thing will probably happen. And then also there's a veto. So you're potentially nominating 4 people this week. So it was not a typical, let's put up these 2 people. Sarah Beth currently thinks from her one-on-one conversations that Alyssa could potentially play per her request, HOH's request. Will you play and pull down the person I would like you to pull down? Alyssa says, yes, absolutely, if I have the money. Odds are Alyssa's not going to have the money. She only got 50 last week. I don't know why she would get more than 50 this week. It's possible. So if she does, then she would play for the HOH. Hannah also agreed. Sure, if I can afford it, I will play for you and pull down who you want. Tiffany says the same thing. Tiffany is really downplaying her money, though. She's like not admitting how much she got. So she's like, if I have the money, I will absolutely play for you and do that. So in Sarah Beth's mind, these 3 people would play in the roulette and take Claire down for her. She ideally is saying Tiffany play and win and pull Claire down. And then Tiffany and Claire are both safe this week. And she can put up one of her real noms, which is going to either be Derek X, Alyssa, or Xavier. However, so that's in her head, right? However, the Cookout obviously has a completely different agenda, right? Kyland thinks Great. She put up Claire and Big D. We're going to take Big D down. He thinks that, where's his list of people? Azza, obviously, Azza is going to play for Big D if she can afford it. She only got 50 last time. If she only gets 50 again, she can't afford it. But she might get 75 this time. She might bump up because she was a Britney ally, and that edit last night, that might have gotten her some more BB bucks. So Azza will play to take Big D down. And then Kai thinks Alyssa, if she has the money, will play and take Big D down, and thinks Hannah could play and take Big D down. So they're not on the same page there. Hannah and some of the other members of the Cookout, Xavier, Tiffany, they were discussing, Hannah's like, I play and then I take Big D down instead of Claire. Like, that does not make sense. How does that look to the house that I would take Big D down and not Claire? Doesn't make sense. So ultimately, Hannah is going to play and not win. But really, she's just not going to play because she can't get caught with the power to pull someone down and it be Big D instead of Claire. Like, this is just a hot mess. She can't do it. So she's going to play and not win. Tiffany, similarly, is not going to have enough money to play. She cannot get caught with this power. If she were to win Roulette, she has to take Claire down. She can't get caught in this either. None of the Cookout want to make it look obvious that they're not pulling Claire down, but they said at the end of this, we need Claire and Derek X available to be on the block. We cannot save them. Therefore, we cannot show our cards. So those people, even though Claire and Derek X think that those people are playing for them, they are not playing for them. And I don't think Alyssa's going to have the money. So I think Azza might be the only one playing this. And if she's the only one, she automatically wins and she pulls Big D down. Woo! It's a hot mess. Donna, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. I appreciate you tuning in. All of you. Plenty of them want to save their money. Xavier wants to save his money. Tiffany's like, if I get 100 this time, I definitely want to save my money. They all want to be in contention for the coin if they can be. And let's circle back to Derek X here. He has been saying for a week he wants to save up for the coin. Here he is. Claire comes in, is like, hey, I'm being nominated. You think you can play for me? He's like, oh gosh, I mean, I guess I could. But then he proceeds to have several conversations. Okay, so most notably is he has another conversation with Sarah Beth. So last night, he and Sarah Beth had a really great one-on-one where they were really debating the pros and the cons of, like, does he play the roulette? Does he save for the coin? I kept yelling at him to make a deal with her, that he would use the coin and keep her safe next week if she keeps him safe this week. Like, make a deal about it, because they kept debating and they just circled, seemed to be working together about it, but like not seriously. So then today, though, when she circles back with him, she says, well, you don't have to play if you don't want to this week for the roulette. You can save for the coin if you want. Tiffany, Alyssa, and Hannah said they'll play to take down Claire. So feel free to do whatever you want. Don't worry about it. You don't need to play. And thankfully, that like flipped a switch in him, and he said, well, that's a different tune. What changed? What changed since last night and this morning? Insert photo of Kyland. What changed? She's got a different tune. Do I trust this? What does this mean if she doesn't really want me to play anymore? That's suspicious. But he's still talking to Hannah, Claire, like, okay, if Hannah plays, then I don't need to play. Yeah, you do. He's obviously not getting all the right information because Hannah and Tiffany are playing he and Claire. So Derek X needs to win this roulette. He needs to play this roulette and win, take Claire down so that both of them are safe. I'm not sure he fully realizes that. I think he half realizes it, but he also really wants to save and do the coin next week. If he doesn't play this roulette, he has to win veto because he will be backdoored more than likely. I mean, that is what Kyland wants, and he's got days to work on Sarah Beth. If it took him 4 hours to put Claire on the block, think what he can do with all of these days. So Derek X is in big old trouble. Linda, who asked, who is Sarah Beth's renom? She would like it to be Alyssa and Xavier. Kyland would like it to be Derek X. So I do believe Derek X is in trouble. Thank you, Joseph. The coin is 250. This roulette this week is 125. So only a few people are even in contention to get this coin. Xavier being one of them, unless his money dropped significantly, but I don't think it would. Yeah. So this roulette thing is just messy. Stackton Florida says if he doesn't play roulette, he will either go, or lose Claire. Odds are very high that is where we're headed this week. I mean, honestly, let's think about this. Let's say he doesn't play roulette, and somebody's going to come down off the block, right? Big D comes down. I don't know. But at the end of the week, if Claire is sitting on the block and not Derek X, how is anyone convincing Derek X that Claire's got to go? This all looks shady, left, right, and center. This is a lot. They are working overtime, which I appreciate, but there's a lot of ins and outs and interested parties here. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot of lying that's going to happen with the roulette, which I think should be obvious to Claire and Derek. If Hannah's like, oh, I played and I lost, and Tiffany was like, I didn't get enough money, I feel like they're going to be like, this is suspicious, because it is suspicious. And if that leaves just Azza, I honestly thought Big D would play. He played last week, but he's another one that wants to save for the coin. And he ultimately feels like more than likely he's safe. He's got the votes to stay. So he'd rather Azza play the roulette for him. But Azza only got $50 last week. Right? So let's double check here. Yeah. So she'd have to get 75, but I do feel like that's possible. So we lost a $100 getter, Brittany. So everyone could shift up a bit. Yes, Dory. Kai could go on the block with the roulette. And Kai thinks that the odds are even higher. I mean, statistically, it's like 1 in 5 or whatever it is. But he thinks because it's his, allies HOH that like the karma big brother odds are higher for him to go up. And honestly, please, that's the most messy, enjoyable thing we could possibly see. So Derek X could play the roulette if he wants. Hannah could play if she wants, but she doesn't want to show her cards, so she's going to lie. Xavier could play roulette, but he doesn't want to. He wants to save his money for the coin. which is great because he is a possible renom in Sarah Beth's mind if Kyland doesn't get to her again. Derek Frazier, he could play. Big D could, but he wants to save for the coin, and I think he feels safe, even though he hates being on the block. So I wonder if he'll just get nervous about being on the block and go ahead and play. I'm not sure if he'll play or not. Like I said, if Azah gets $75, which I think is possible because she was an ally to Brittany, we've lost Brittany. So all of those votes could go to Azah potentially. Then she will play. She has said she will play and she will pull Big D down. Alyssa, if she gets 75, do you guys think that Alyssa will move up? She really wasn't in much of the edits this week, except she won veto. So she did win OTEV, which is fun to watch. But then she didn't even have conversations about, like, is she going to use the veto? They didn't even show any of that. So I don't know. Could she move up from the 50 to the 75? Because that's the only way she plays. If she gets 50 again, she doesn't even have the option to play. Tiffany would have to move up to $100. She had 75 last week. She spent 50 of it stupidly. So she has 25. If she moves up to the $100 tier, then she could play this, but she won't because she can't show her cards here to Claire. But I honestly don't know that she will move up to the 100. I mean, the internet loves and appreciates her game, but boy, her edit, I mean, the last thing the TV showed us was her going after Derek X and Claire. Derek X is like the beloved golden boy of BB23. So I don't know. She might go down to 50 after that edit. Sarah Beth, Kai, and Claire have $0. They have no option to play whatsoever. So if Derek X chooses not to play, if he thinks that he's okay, then we might just have Azah be the only one, in which case she's safe and Big D is safe, and someone randomly is going to sit next to Claire. Oof. Oof. All right, you guys are all agreeing with me. We don't think Alyssa moves up. We don't think so. Oh, she did come close to HOH. Oh, that last step. Although she would have been beat by Sarah Beth anyway. But, ooh, that was close. Can we just circle back to the fact if Derek X had not tried the skinny one first, his time on the big one was more than enough to win. If he goes out this week, we're all going to just have a moment of silence for that. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It's really hard to watch right now because Derek X and Claire are getting played. I mean, I get it. I understand. We are to the point where the Cookout has to, if they're going to be Cookout strong, they have to be making these choices. They have to be doing this stuff. But to see Derek X run to Hannah and Tiffany to like bounce these ideas off and make a plan with them, and they are straight up lying. So hard to watch. It was hard to watch. I mean, again, I already said I'm like secondhand embarrassed about this Sarah Beth HOH for her, but when he was like, you're so great. You're so great. I love the decisions you're coming up with. She made some joke about like, haha, and to like cut you or come for you or backstab you. And he goes, you better not. Which I get it. You would say to your ally, but I was like, no, you're doing that to her. Oh my God, she's going to lose it. She's going to lose. I mean, Kyland is losing jury votes left and right, but I feel like he might be losing Sarah Beth's vote right now. Like, oof. Can you imagine that, like having that moment in your head when you later find out he was playing you the whole time? Yikes. It's delicious, but it's also sad and it's also terrifying. And oof. Yes, Ben, we talked about it earlier. Shelly wrote the letter and she said, it's not fair that the other contestants get to hug and cuddle you. And there were a lot of faces very similar to that one. Yeah, a lot of that. And there's a photo of the two of them. Dory, bless you. Bless you for trying to watch. It's tough. It's hard. Sarah Beth was doing so good on her own, and then we had that marathon with Kyland, and we're like, ah. Okay, whatever. I mean, not whatever. What else? Whoops, I almost gave up on everything. Whatever. What else? Let's see. What questions do you have? Let me go through my notes, make sure I said everything. We talked about, just to recap, Big D and Claire on the block, 4 hours to deprogram Sarah Beth last night. Really pushing Derek X and Claire. He does not like them, does not trust them, is what he's saying to her. Really wants the roulette used, but she just does not even realize that it's not really going to, I mean, it's going to be used, but she was hoping to, like, tons of people would spend their money, and that's not what's happening. So Sarah Beth is not quite clued in on what's really going on, obviously. Big D is nervous that he's on the block, but he's also not necessarily going to play the roulette. So he must not be that nervous. I don't know. I'm a little confused on exactly how he's feeling. Sarah Beth really doesn't trust Alyssa, and she's not very trusting of Xavier. But Kyland is working to counter that. But those are her ideal renoms. Ideally, Tiffany wins roulette, takes Claire down, and she puts up Alyssa or Xavier. And then if one of them comes down with veto, she puts up the other one. That is how she's feeling and thinking. But Kyland assumes that it's going to be Derek X. So just recapping that information. Yeah, I think that is the highlights. So what did I miss? Did I miss questions? Okay, Caroline, do we know how roulette works yet? Well, they're going to play a comp like they did last week, pushing the mojitos to see who wins the roulette. And it sounds like they keep talking about balance. I don't know if they were given a heads up that it will have something to do with balance, or if they're just assuming because the HOH had to do with balance. I'm not sure where that comes from, but they're talking about balance. Then whoever wins that will take someone off the block, whoever they choose, and then they're going to put a ball inside the roulette wheel, and whoever head it lands on, which will be all the people not on the block or HOH or this roulette winner. So wherever that ball lands, and it can be on any other house guest, that person will then go up on the block. Woo! Sames. I was like, it's going to be Big D and X or Big D and Alyssa. Here we go. I was like, Sarah Beth, lock your HOH room. Go to sleep. You said you were tired. Go to sleep. She did not. She did not listen to me. This has to be a timed comp if more than one person plays. Well, it doesn't have to be timed, but probably it will be timed. But like the mojito one they did last week is like three short things. It's not gonna take that long. So it's gonna be something quick like that, or timed. Absolutely. She is still considering it, but Kyland is also still working against it. So hello there says, I wish she would have backdoored Xavier. It's going to be a long week. We got plenty more to happen. I know that was going to be really interesting. Okay, question. Has DX talked to Claire since Noms? Yes, it seemed like people kept them separated in long talks. No, they definitely talked about, who plays roulette? How do we go about this? But, he's like, I will play and save you. But if Hannah is going to play, then I don't need to. So they're all coming up with signals. Like Tiffany and Claire have a signal. Hannah and DX have a signal. Like if they played, if they didn't. But ultimately they're lying. So I don't think Derek X is going to end up playing unless he just like in his gut gets worried. He did have that kind of like moment earlier when he was like, what changed? Sarah Beth now is like, oh, you don't have to play. Suspicious. So if he can get a little bit more of that. SB should play her own game instead of Kai's. I know. And she said she was going to. She said it out loud. But I think she still thinks she is. The inception, it came through his fingers and into her body. And she thinks that she's making her own decisions. And she's not. What Ian says, what if Claire goes up in money? Unless something has changed, the highest she can get is $100 and the roulette costs $125. She has 0. So the most I think she can get is 100, in which case she does not have any options still. Although if she does jump up to 100, even though she does not have options to play, she should, as a super fan, she should be like, okay, red flag, America is telling me I need help. I am in trouble. Like she should know that as a super fan. And so I hope if she does get 100, that she at least has that sort of thought process and maybe therefore a conversation with Derek X, and then they can be like, wait, Hannah and Tiffany both didn't end up playing, but we thought they were. Oh, wait, what? Then maybe they can just figure some things out. I don't know. Do we think there's a comp to air on Sunday's show? It'll be this this comp. What are we calling this? The high roller and the roulette wheel thing will be Sunday's show. Whatever this comp is. They'll walk in, they'll get their BB bucks, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know when they're earning this other BB bucks. Like they said that, right? We heard that when they said, and there'll be more opportunities to earn BB bucks. So I'm like, where is that? I thought it would be associated with this HOH, which was not. And then I heard the house guest, I forget who it was, but there was a couple people saying, what are these other opportunities to earn bucks? That was very misleading, as in there aren't other ways. They just meant each week you'll earn more. So then I was like, oh, maybe it was misleading and there aren't. I don't know. Maybe Big Brother production is leaving that up to themselves. And if Claire gets 100 and then they just like give her another opportunity to earn like 25 more, maybe leaving that up to their own discretion, possibly. You know what, Boston girl? Okay, I have to read it out loud. I can't believe DX doesn't want to spend his money. No one's going to save Claire. I thought he was smarter than this. You want to believe what you want to believe, right? So even if you get suspicious of something, which Claire and Derek X have both been suspicious of certain things, but they want to believe that Tiffany, that Hannah are with them. They've been with them from the beginning. They confide in each other. They talk through all the scenarios. So no matter what little hints come your way, it is a huge leap to put together your closest ally with other people. We see it all the time. You can be so smart, but you can be outplayed because you trust this person and you just don't really want to see it, right? It's clear to us. We have all the clues. We have all the pieces. Good question, Kathy. Legally, does BB Production as a competition show have all these comps and stuff planned ahead of time since there is money prize involved? So logistically, they do have all of this planned ahead of time because it's a big production and they have to, they really just can't change things at the last minute. But they are a reality show. They do not follow the same rules as like a game show, like Jeopardy, To Tell the Truth, like these shows where you play a game, get quizzed, win prizes. They have these very strict rules so that it's not rigged. But BB doesn't fall, they're not in that category. So they have a little bit of leeway. They can't rig comps. They do have rules on that kind of stuff, but they could throw in an extra something at any time if they wanted to. Does that make sense? Well, Miranda, we don't want you to die, but it would be super entertaining. Well, if Kyland gets up randomly and he's sitting next to Big D, I do think they would evict Kyland. I mean, if he's sitting if we have two Cookout members, it's going to be tough. And that'll be interesting to watch them negotiate, like who they want to vote for, who they want to keep, that kind of stuff. But I do feel like Kyland has burned enough bridges and that they would take him out if he's sitting next to Big D. If he's sitting next to Azza, they might not. I don't know. It would be interesting to see them have to figure that out. Yeah, very funny. It would be. And he's terrified of it. He really genuinely thinks the odds are stacked against him. Yep, Barbara, that is why he is a threat. Drag him to the end. Sit next to him. He's not winning. Ooh, Maureen, I love it. What if they get their money today and have a chance to double or nothing? Give Claire some double or nothing. I like it. I mean, I agree whether it's this week or not, Joseph. Kyland may be the first casualty of the cookout. Unless he does a lot of damage control, if he does get to stay a couple more weeks, he's got a lot of work ahead of him. And because so far the cookout does want to take him out first. That's right, Michelle. The hacker twist took out Rockstar and Haley's HOH. That's the kind of stuff that Kai's been talking about. He's like, that's just what happens. Even though we can say it's 1 in 5 chance or whatever it is, it really is higher in this reality TV show setting when it's your ally as the HOH. Ha ha. Yes, Claire could play if we do the double or nothing. I like that idea. Let's do it. All right. So like we said, the feeds are going to be down like 5 or 6 hours. When they come back, we will hopefully try to decipher, decode who got what and what happened. Last weekend was so confusing, but I feel like we know a little bit more of how it all works now. But Claire, Big D, nominees until this roulette happens. Then we will have a veto, though, so it can change again. Again, Sarah Beth would like Claire to be safe. She would like to put up Alyssa or Xavier. Kyland would like Big D to be safe. And Derek X to go up. So we will see what actually happens, but that is what's happening. Dory, thank you so much for the super chat. I can't believe Sarah Beth put up the exact same nominees as Kyland last week. Would love to see Kai or Tiff on the block on Thursday. I mean, honestly, that's what's embarrassing. Like, it's one thing to be manipulated by someone else. Happens all the time in the game of Big Brother. But to literally put up the same noms as the person who's manipulating you, like, that's why I'm embarrassed. That looks so bad. There's no way to pretend that you did your own HOH. Look what you did. Oh, my God. Oh, good. Thank you, Linda. I have not even talked about what is happening on the 16th. September 16th is a Thursday, and there is a 2-hour Big Brother episode slated that just was made clear to all of us that there is a 2-hour episode on the 16th, and people are speculating that it will be a triple eviction. Can't imagine it's a battle back because, I mean, it could be, but we haven't had a double, and mathematically bringing more people in without losing enough people doesn't add up. The triple mathematically does add up. Now, back to our conversation about production has to plan this stuff way in advance. They have to talk to the network. CBS has to allow a 2-hour episode. Like, there are so many negotiations. They cannot come up with this last minute. So that has been set in stone. And they did a triple last year. So it would make sense that they were like, hey, let's have a triple there late in the season. But now that we are in this situation that we're in, that triple falls going from final 7 to final 6 to final 5. We would come out of that September 16th episode with 5 people. And all of this like hype, all of this like build up to the cookout being final 6 and what's going to happen when we get down to 7 is going to be so rushed in a triple, I think. Yeah, I am it makes sense that we would have a triple there. We could be wrong. This is all speculation, but mathematically a triple makes sense. I love a triple. I love a double. I'm all for it. It just is bad timing if we are rushed from 7 to 6. That's what's bad timing. But maybe not. Maybe it'll be perfectly fun. We'll see. But yeah, mark your calendars, 2-hour episode on Thursday, the 16th of September. And yes, feeds are going to be down for a little bit longer. So take a nap or come back in about 15 minutes and watch Survivor South Africa with me. I watch that on Fridays on Twitch. So you can hang out with me and do that in about 15 minutes if you would like. You guys, oh yeah, Lady Di, bringing up some more stuff here. I think it was 9, actually. 9 crew members of Big Brother have tested positive for COVID, but it's this whole, it wasn't like it just happened. Even though it just came out, it's been over this last like couple months. So it was spaced out. They were all quarantined, taken care of, and they've been released back to work. So they're all safe now. It did not spread to house guests, obviously, and it was handled appropriately, apparently, that they didn't shut down the show. So it seems like everybody's okay. That's good to hear. Yay. Well, thank you for bringing up all that fun stuff. Thank you for your insights and your questions. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I will be interested to see how the rest of this Sarah Beth HOH is going to go. I'll be back on Monday with supposedly David. David should be back with me on Monday. He needs to catch up on Big Brother. We'll catch him up on everything. And as usual, tomorrow, Saturdays, I will be with Chantel for Survivor South Africa. We've only got a few more episodes left of that. That's been a lot of fun. So you guys enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye.